Ethics. Ethics is a branch of philosophy which deals with the principles of right and wrong. Right and wrong is the quality assigned to human acts, conduct, and behavior. Ethics came from the Latin word ethos or ethikos, which means customary behavior and conduct, and from the Greek word ethicus, ethikus, which means customary. Other definitions of ethics, according to its etymological meaning, it means a philosophical science that deals with the morality of human acts or human conduct. Next one is morality. This is the quality of human acts constituted as good, bad, or indifferent. And this is also the foundation of every human society. Moral integrity is the true measure of how men ought to be. Next one is ethics versus moral. Ethics is the outline of the theories of right and wrong, and moral is what translate these theories into actions. Two divisions of ethics. First, general ethics is the application of the general principles of morality. Special ethics is General ethics is the study of the general application of morality, and special ethics is the application of the general principles of morality. And under special ethics is professional ethics, which is a subdivision of special ethics. This is the code of conduct to which professionals must subscribe. Next one, example of professional ethics are medical ethics, business ethics, legal ethics, code of conduct for teachers, code of conduct for public officials, and police ethics. Police ethics is a practical science that treats the human morality and duty in accordance to law enforcement. Next one is human acts and acts of human. Human acts are done knowingly and freely. These acts are deliberate and voluntarily, while acts of humans are actions which happens within a person. These are instinctive and is not within the control of the will. Human acts, these are acts that precedes the deliberate will of a man. In wider sense, it is any sort of activity, external or internal, spiritual or mental, which a human being performs. And essential attributes of human acts. First, the act must be performed by a conscious agent, wherein he knows what he is doing and he knows the consequences of what he is doing. Next one is the act must be performed by an agent who is acting freely, that is in his own volition and power. Any act done under duress or against his will is not entirely a free action. And third, last, the act must be performed by an agent who decides willfully to perform the act. Next one is moral distinctions. This is the stand of the norms of morality to which our actions are judged by its merits and demerits. And in here we have moral or good actions. These are acts that constitutes the norms of morality. And then bad or immoral actions. These are acts that does not constitute the morals of society, the norms of society of morality. And then amoral, these acts are neutral to the norms of morality. It is neither good nor bad. Next one is voluntariness. It came from the Latin word voluntas, which refers to the will. Voluntariness is essential to an act. Without it, it is merely an act of man. And then we have direct voluntariness. This is primarily direct voluntariness is primarily an intention of the doer, either as a means of an end or as a means of achieving something. And indirect voluntariness is the act or the situation which is the mere result of the directly willed act. And then types of voluntariness, you have perfect voluntariness, where a person performs an act willfully, or he or she intends to perform the act. And then second is imperfect voluntariness, when a person performs an act without realizing what he means to do or what he intends to do. Next one is conditional voluntariness. A person is forced to perform an act due to circumstances beyond his control. And then last, simple voluntariness, when a person willfully performs an act whether he likes to do it or not. Next one is types of voluntariness. Next one is modifiers of human acts. First, ignorance, the absence of knowledge to which a person ought to process. Under this, may tinatawag tayo na ignorance of the law excuses no one, which means that a person who violated a law or who committed a crime cannot take or cannot make ignorance as a defense. Next one is passion. This is either may nakalimutan ako sa acts. Dun sa acts, sir, may tinatawag tayo na elicited acts, which is performed by will or acts performed by will or is not bodily externalized. Under this, we have wish. Wish is the tendency of the will towards something, either realizable or not. And then intention is the tendency of the will towards something attainable, but does not necessarily commit oneself unto it. And then the consent is the acceptance of the will to those is the acceptance of the will to the needs to carry out the intention. And then election is the selection of the will of those effective enough to carry out the intention. And then use is the command of the will to use those means elected to carry out the intentions. And provision is the enjoyment of the will derived from the achievement of the things decided earlier. And then meron pang isa, which is commanded acts, which is done by either the person's mental or physical power. And then under this, we have internal, which is conscious reasoning and encouraging oneself and etc. Then external, these are smelling, touching, and tasting, etc. And third, the combination of internal and external, which is which is, for example, writing a letter, driving on a highway, and etc. So for the continuation, passion, this is the tendency towards, this is either the tendency towards desirable objects or the tendency towards undesirable or harmful objects. Under passion, we have positive emotions such as love, hope, bravery, and negative emotions such as sadness, sorrows, anger, etc. And sabi doon, passion is a psychic response, meaning it is neither immoral or immoral, but men are bound to regulate its emotions, and submit to the control of reason. Next one is fear. Fear is the disturbance of the mind implied by an incoming danger or harm for himself or his loved ones. And then violence is a physical force inflicted by a man to another person for the purpose of compelling his or her or the person to perform something against his will. And then meron tayong tinatawag na actions and emotions. Men act in actions and emotions wherein humans act with emotions and feelings, not like robots. In doing this, a man does not only evoke certain a man does not only evoke certain basta nakalimutan ko, sir, but its decisions and intentions to perform an act is swayed by his emotions. And then we Filipinos, meron tayong tinatawag na kagandahan ng loob, which is our attitudes and stands for all that is good for us, for all that is good, which we call to as kaibigan in human beings. And then next one is rights and duties. Man is born with rights and duties. These rights are an attribute of a person. We have kinds of right. First, natural rights. Natural rights are based on natural laws. And then human rights, this is based on positive human laws enacted either by the state or the religious sector. Civil rights, these are dependent on the laws enacted by the state. And ecclesiastical or religious rights, these rights are dependent on the laws enacted by religious sectors. And then next one is alienable and inalienable rights. Meaning alienable rights, these are civic and religious rights which can be surrendered, renounced, or removed. Next is rights of jurisdiction. This is the power of the authority to govern its people and to make laws. And right of property, this is the right to own, sell, barter, change one's personal possessions. And then juridical rights, these juridical rights, so far all rights are based on laws. These rights must be respected, allowed, and fulfilled as a matter of strict justice. And next, non-juridical rights. This is based on laws, either moral or immoral, but in virtue. This is also called as moral rights. Definition of duties. Objectively, duties are anything we are obliged to do or to omit. And subjectively, this is a moral obligation to which incumbent a person of doing, avoiding, or omitting something. And then types of duties, you have natural duties. This is based on natural laws. And then positive duties, this is based on example ng natural duties is taking care of your health. And then positive duties, these are based on positive human laws, for example paying taxes, obeying traffic rules. And then next is affirmative duties. These are affirmative duties, which requires a person to perform a certain act, for example securing a business license. And last, negative duties. This negative duties is the omission of a certain act, for example carrying illegal firearms, carrying illegal drugs. Last is the Bill of Rights. Bill of Rights Section 1 is a right to due process and equal protection. Due process, this is our constitutional guarantee or assurance that the criminal justice system will hear us before it condemns us. There are two aspects of due process. First one is the procedural and procedural. Procedural, it is the manner or method to which it is exercised. It is where you are given the opportunity first to be heard before being condemned. Next one is substantive. Substantive meaning the laws which would be applied to you or against you must be fair, just, and just. When is the law fair and just? Meron tayong dalawang doctrine which is the doctrine of void vagueness, meaning yung law na i-apply to you dapat hindi siya malabo, dapat clear siya. In that way the law will be applied fairly. And next one is the doctrine of overbreadth. This is where the law limits itself. There must be boundaries. So kung ang law, if it can include something, it must exclude something too. Next one is section 2, right against unreasonable arrest and search. The general rule is we can only be arrested with the virtue of warrant of arrest issued by the judge. And before the judge issues a warrant of arrest, meron mo ng probable cause by the prosecutor, which will provide information to the judge, and then the judge will examine this probable cause and then decide whether he will issue a warrant of arrest or commitment order. Kung yung suspect hindi pa siya na-aresto, ang i-issue ng judge is warrant of arrest. However, kung na-aresto na siya, ang i-issue niya is commitment order. And then there are instances wherein pwede kang mag-arrest without warrant. First, the in flagrante delicto, wherein in your presence the suspect has committed it, is actually committing it, or is planning to commit a crime. And then hot pursuit, this must be based on personal knowledge, not on hearsay tip only. Kasi kung it must be based on personal knowledge that a crime had just been committed. Okay, so kung hearsay tip lang siya, hindi mo siya mako-consider as hot pursuit. And lastly, plain view doctrine. There are three requisites. First one, there are three requisites in order para matawag siya na plain view doctrine. First requisite is that there must be a valid reason or a legal justification kung bakit mo siya isa-search. For example, checkpoints and military checkpoints, ganun. And secondly, the discovery of the evidence must be inadvertent, meaning hindi mo talaga intention na ma-discover yung contraband na yun. However, unintentionally nakita mo siya. Yun yung second requisite. And then third, there must be an obvious reason that the object is a contraband or it is something that can be used in the commission of a crime. Okay, remember that when one of the requisite is not present, it will not be called as plain view doctrine. That's all, sir. Thank you.